Deborah Tavares. Deborah, welcome to the Power Hour.
Well, Daniel, thank you. I certainly would like to ask that everyone subscribe to StopTheCrime.net and to our YouTube video channel, and be sure to click the bell notification, because we are posting information rapidly now, because there is so much information that you need, because your survival will depend on what you do today. And I cannot underscore that, and I will say that one more time. Everyone listening, your survival will depend on what you do today and what you understand the plans to be. And we're going to be talking about an extraordinary plan in just a bit here, Daniel, because I know you wanted to ask me some other questions.
Yes, this is a very foreboding beginning, but I think it's appropriate, as you always are. Let me start. We're getting a lot of emails and questions. They know you were coming on. We hear a lot on TV. We don't know what to separate facts from fiction at this point with fires in California. They're spreading. They're not just in California anymore. What is really going on with fires all across the West, or any of that? Give us an overview.
Well, of course, everyone at this point, I hope, understands that technologies are being used to foment all of these fires. We refer to that as directed energy weapons, a variety of weapons systems, not only just lasers and helicopter dropping various types of incendiary devices, but also people, boots on the ground, that are starting fires. And then we're overridden by looters as the homes are vacated, as people, of course, are forced to leave. And I will say right now, for all of you that are listening, this is a tough conversation for me right now, because we're still burning here in Northern California where I am. There are many fires still. We are anticipating, because of extreme heat events caused by technologies coming this weekend, that we're going to have more red flag fire warnings. Red flag fire warnings means low humidity, wind, severe heat, and extremely dry conditions, and we have all of that. And I've spoken many times before about the documents that we have referred to, where the entire western United States will be in a mega drought, which the definition is for multiple years, many years, tens of years, that we will be in an electronically induced mega drought. So we're facing now red flag fire warnings here this weekend and power shutdowns. I'm going to underscore power shutdowns. They politely call it public safety power shutoffs, PSPS. And I can tell you right now, we know that the Gulf Coast area is flooding and there's severe storm surge. People are losing their homes. People are being confronted with life-threatening electronic attacks all over the world. And we know the storm surge is severe now. Again, storm surge is also a technology that is now used as well in the sea. Not only do they have technologies overhead, they have them and use them in the oceans as well. And there are many, many power outages everywhere now due to extreme and severe intentional weather events. We are under mass attack. Make absolutely no mistake. And
let me interject just so clear for people who are listening, maybe new listeners, maybe somebody who hasn't heard you very much before. So when you see the really mass fire spreading, if you've seen the map, there's one map where the fires are going all the way up to Oregon and Washington, and then they absolutely stop like a wall on the coast of Canada. For some reason, Canada can't burn or something. I don't know. Be clear for people listening. This is planned. These are intentionally started fires by technological means and just plain old arson. This is all intentional, or at least the majority of what we're seeing is intentional. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And in fact, I want to say that because directed energy weapons are being used, They do direct the energy. They're lasers, and they can target and burn specific areas. They can control the burn areas, too, by wind and weather events. We've seen that. So the weather controls the fires. Remember, they have had the ability to create rain. Remembering in Operation Popeye in Vietnam, the weather was able to be controlled and rain out and cause flooding on the Ho Chi Minh supply line. We also know in Cuba at the same time they were creating a massive drought to hopefully starve out Castro and the tobacco plantations. They could cause it to rain and put these fires out. They are not. Everybody needs to understand, they are the controllers, whomever you want to believe them to be. I happen to look at the documents, and I see their names in the documents, and I hope that many of you do too.
What are the names?
These are people. Yes. When you go to and type in, Daniel, for everyone that can hear you discuss this if you'd like, I'd appreciate it. You could type in the name of a city or state followed by climate action plans. These are sustainable development plans. Now you will find climate emergency plans being enacted everywhere now. They're in the process now. What this means is everything that we see happening as a result of COVID. And I don't want to spend much time on this discussion because, quite frankly, I have a number of YouTubes up where I go into greater detail with that. The majority of today's discussion with everybody, and I do want to have the time to answer questions, but I want to say that right now, 5 of the 6 largest California wildfires in history have started within the last 6 weeks.
Wow.
And we have, as I said, a weekend of danger in the West as it escalates with a severe and intense heat dome. That's what they're calling it now, a heat dome, changing our vocabulary for their man-made weather weapon events. Now, people get confused. I've been asked about weather weapons and understanding that it is technologies being used to create weather events all over the world. So it's important when they tell you, well, the climate is changing. Yes, it is changing, but it is being artificially created. The change is all artificial. People need to understand that because climate change is an agenda hitting us in every paper, newspaper, every print, every radio, everywhere we go, it's climate change, and that is a deadly agenda of massive control. This is the use of total oppression through technologies. And we're going to talk about this because I really need to underscore something that is deathly waiting as a trap in front of all of us right now. And so I want to explain a couple of things very quickly.
Do you want to allow me to go back before you go? Because I want you to just be able to go on this. This is a very important subject that she's about to cover, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go back and just clarify and ask one question first. So people know. They can go to their Google, whatever, put in your city, Des Moines or whatever, put climate action plans, Des Moines, climate action plans, Douglasville, whatever the city. And you can start to find this, and then climate emergency plans. And then you'll start to see the characters, the corporations, and the influencers on this. This is what we're talking about. The question I have before you go forward, out of all these fires and all this directed energy weapons and all this pretty elaborate scheme that they got going on here, what is the ultimate goal?
Mass genocide and depopulation and forced migration and relocation, and now increases in homelessness and climate refugees. Steering people into other areas where they really want colonized, into smart kill grids. Now,
so they basically want to depopulate. It's like Hunger Games. They want to shuttle everybody off the open lands and put them in little controlled units, cities, whatever.
Let me stop you right there. They're not going to move everybody. They're going to kill the majority of people. Not everyone will be moved. Well, many people will die.
That's very provocative. I don't know where you're going to go with what you're about to say, but obviously I want to ask you about that. So you go wherever you want to go. You got to explain that.
Right. Well, I first want to let everybody know that we face now complete and absolute and total oppression through technologies. And this is a system that we can now start to see that absolutely recognizes no limits no limits on the authority of this system. And this system regulates and will regulate and is regulating every aspect of our private and public life without any regard for life itself, and that's absolutely necessary for everyone to understand. I'm going to throw this in right now. I won't go into it much, but it's important to understand what politics is really, because we're in a political season right now, and really that is no more than the entertainment division for our overlords, our controllers.
Hilarious.
That's exactly what it is. It has no standing. We're a corporation. We're not only USA Inc., but we're Earth Inc. Again, I go over that in many videos. I spend quite a bit of time on that. We are, in fact, the enemy. So as I discuss what you will hear me talk about, it will be easier to understand if you can mentally grasp that fact. It was a tough one for me. So for everyone that's listening, it did not come easy for me to understand how illegitimate, how counterfeit everything is.
So before we go forward, just on that thought right there, we are the corporate political structure that has been overlaid to our constitutional foundation in America, or really the world, Earth Inc., this corporate structure that has been overlaid over all of us. They see people, mankind, you and I, men and women, we are the enemy to this program and to this corporate structure. Is that what you're saying? That's
exactly right. And I discuss this again, Daniel, in detail in other videos. But what I want to say right now is really important. I'm going to try to explain this, because what you're going to hear me then go into next is important that you understand this. It's important to understand how all of our presumed meetings are handled, staged in all of our cities. All meetings, all corporate agency meetings. We're talking about health agency meetings. You're going to hear the word task force. Whenever you hear that word task force or consensus, you need to understand that these are, they promote the desired agendas. And this was using the RAND Corporation, the Delphi meeting technique, which creates a consensus to determine outcomes. Now, the Delphi meetings are structured, controlled, and facilitated communication techniques used in most all meetings today.
Give us an example. Give us an example so somebody knows if they're, what is that technique? What would be an example?
Well, an example would be the climate action plans, for example. Those are put forth as our ability to weigh in and contribute to what those plans are. And we're never really given that opportunity to weigh in. We can weigh in, but many people look at that as basically just a psychological opportunity to really just literally take away your concerns about it. It gives you a moment to speak.
So